An important feature of the relational database is the ease with which you can change the database structure by adding and removing tables and fields, changing the characteristic of existing fields, and creating and dropping indexes. The SQL statement, the SQL alter table command, changes the table structure. To add a new field to the customer table, we use alter table customer, that's the name of the table, and add customer type character, and inside we have 1. In Access, we can actually add a field in the table design view and actually change the data type. So let's look at how we do that in Access. So in Access, we can go to our table and then go to I have to change this from the previous example because it's not going to allow me. So I'm going to put 5,000, and then we can go to the design view. And in the design view, you can actually change the type if you want to. So we can actually maybe type a new field called customer type. And we want to have the data type called as, text, as we have it here. And then we want to have the field size. You see, automatically it's going to be 255, but we want to actually use a 1 field size. So we can do that. So we actually change the structure of the table, and we modify the table by adding the customer type field and actually defining the field size as 1 character. Let's look at some of the other SQL commands that we can use for changing the structure. Changing property of existing field, we can use alter table customer, change column customer name to character 40. Deleting it, we can use alter table item and then delete storehouse. Drop table completely. Remember, this is deleting a field from a table, but this is deleting a table. So we use the drop command. We cannot use the delete command in SQL. So the drop command for the table name, and using the table name, we drop that table from our database. So let's try this in Access. How do we change a field property in Access? Let's say we want to change the customer type. We want to change the field size to 40. We can actually do that here. So we can just come customer name, and just instead of having 35, we want to change it to 40 characters. And let's see how we can delete a field. So let's say we want to delete this customer name. We can actually come here and then delete rows, and then it says, do you want to permanently delete the selected field? We can say yes, and after we say yes, it's going to delete this completely from our table, and you can see it's gone. Another structure change which is we can do in Access is deleting a table. So let's see how we can delete a table in Access. We can go to our tables in Access, and let's say I want to delete the item table. I can actually right click on it and then say delete, and it's going to ask me, do you want to delete the table item? So deleting this will actually remove it from all the groups. I'm not going to do it, but if I want to, I could just say yes. So this is how you can delete a table in Access. In some cases, we might need to change a table's structure in a way that is beyond the capability of our database management system. Sometimes maybe you need to eliminate a field, change the field order, or combine data from the 2 tables into 1. But our system doesn't allow us to do these type of changes. In this type of situation, we can use the create table command to describe the whole new table. Insert value into it using insert command, combine it with the select clause. So these are the SQL commands that we can use to create a whole new table. And also select into command can create the new table in a single operation as well. Now let's see what is a system catalog. Information about the tables in our database is kept in a system catalog, or we just call it a catalog. The catalog is maintained automatically by our database management system. When a user adds a new table, changes the structure of an existing table, or deletes the table, the DBMS updates the catalog to reflect these changes. The catalog contains two tables. Sys tables, information about the table known to SQL, and sys columns, information about the columns or field within these tables. Other possible tables could include sys indexes, which has information about the indexes that are defined on the table, and sys views, which has information about the views that have been created. Catalog can be used to determine information about the structure of the database. We also have Documenter, which allow user to print detailed documentation about any tables, query, report, form, or any other objects in our database. Oracle uses DBA_tables, DBA_table columns, and DBA_views. In Access, however, we can click the Database Tools, and then we can click the Database Documenter button in the Analyze group. So we can actually use that to document the object in our Access database. As you can see, we have the tables here, we have the queries here, we have the form, so we can actually create a report based on all of this. And we have some macros. So this tool will be used to actually print detailed information about everything that we have in our database right now, about the reports, forms, queries, tables, and macros that we have. In a client-server system, a database resides on a computer called the server and uses access the database through the clients. A client is actually a computer that connected to a network and has access through a server to the database. Every time a user executes a query, the database management system should determine the best way to process the query and provide the result. For instance, the database management software must determine which indexes are available and whether it can use those indexes to make processing of the query more efficient. If we are anticipating running a particular query often, for instance, we can improve the performance by saving the query into a special file that's called stored procedure. The stored procedure is placed on the server, and the database management software compiles the stored procedures and creates an execution plan, which is the most efficient way of combining the results. From this point on, the user executes the compiled file, optimize the code in the stored procedures. However, Microsoft Access doesn't support stored procedures. It uses a parameter query instead. What is a trigger? Trigger is an action that occurs automatically in response to an associated database operation, such as insert, update, delete command. Like a stored procedure, a trigger is stored and compiled on the server. Access doesn't support triggers as well. Access 2010 and 13 have data macros that have similar functionality, the same functionality as triggers. So we can use triggers in MySQL. So in Access, we use the data macros to create triggers. So in this example, you can see we are using the data macro to create triggers for the order line table. So normally you can go and click on the name macro under the tables tools table, and you create your macro, data macro. So as you can see, we can actually go to order line and we can actually click on the table, and maybe we want to use the after insert. So if we want the user to add a record to the order line table, we can use it by using a data macro. So which is associated with the after insert event for the order line table. And we can actually use these actions that are out here. And then we will put our conditions here. We will cover more of these macro in another separate chapter, and we will do more of these macros. But just know that we can actually add macro to in Microsoft Access. So we can just close this, and I'm going to show you another one. So you can actually go again to, let's say, the order line table, and we want to actually create a macro. That's what we can also create a new macro by clicking here, and then we are going to add our event here. So we can actually create a macro on a form, we can create a macro on the report, and so on.